when somebody says that, oh, like Danielle Collins is a bitch, like I kind of just take it as a compliment.
One of the reasons I love watching you so much is you are a true fighter, Danielle. Like, you give it some and then some whenever you are out there playing. And I love you because you are so vocal, and we need more vocal female athletes out there who will stand by their opinions, will let their opinions be heard. But do you still find that there is some sexism with being a vocal female athlete?
Oh, for sure. I mean, anytime you share your opinion or have, if you're assertive with your beliefs and you're vocal like I am, there's always going to be backlash, right? And if you
Mm.
ever see me like being very vocal and expressing my views and giving a piece of my mind, just know like I've sat with that for a very long time and it's built up. And I've kind of just gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, enough. And, a lot of the people that are watching sports and watching TV and right they only get to see a small clip of what takes place, right? They see me getting upset with the cameraman. They don't see everything that led up to why I got upset, right? There's so
Mm.
much that these fans and people don't get to see on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I have so many stories of different things that I've gone through in my career and situations that I've tolerated and put up with. And sometimes you just get fed up with it, right? And you just say enough is enough. And um, you know, I um I certainly am not afraid to use my voice because I've accepted the fact that, people aren't always going to like what I have to say, and I'm not always going to like what other people have to say, right?
Mm.
But I do think it is very interesting how oftentimes when we respond to someone's poor behavior, right? It's our reaction that's treated like the offense itself. And it's almost like you don't have a right to respond in some ways, but I do have a right to respond because I'm the one having to walk through this life, you know what I mean? And go through these different experiences. And in individual sport, you also don't always have someone that's sticking up for you or advocating for you. And sometimes when people do, they tried it, they're like, oh, well, do you think you could maybe just afford, maybe she could just have, 3 feet of space? And it's like, sometimes it's like, no, like I want you to give me like adequate amount of space and I want you to respect my personal like boundaries like when I'm trying to do my job and I'm trying to focus. I'm not saying that you can't do your job. I'm not saying that you can't get close to me. I'm just saying like look, give me adequate amount of space. And um yeah, I think that that can get taken out of context and people just yeah, they don't get it. They don't get what we go through. I had a situation a bunch of years ago when I first got on tour, and I was dealing with a cameraman that was very um, persistent. And I remember I came off the court, I lost a long 3-set match, come off the court, and, you know, I'm kind of like cramping and I'm tired and all the things are happening. This guy goes, oh, Danielle, I'm so sorry. Can I give you a hug? And I look at my coach, I'm like, sure. So I'm like standing like this and he goes in to hug me. And then all of a sudden he goes in to kiss me. And I'm like, oh no.
Oh my God.
Like he literally starts making out with the side of my face. So, yeah, people don't see that like behind the scenes. Like they don't see like they don't hear the comments that sometimes like people make towards you. They don't see uh the weird men that show up to our events and stalk us and follow us to our hotels and so yeah, sometimes you get to a boiling point.
You have been very honest at times about dealing with endometriosis, and that's a very difficult thing to go through physically, full stop, let alone being a tennis player, like a top class professional tennis player. What are the ins and outs of being a professional tennis player and having endometriosis at the same time?
you go through an enormous amount of physical agony and confusion, especially before you get diagnosed. And like the different periods that I've gone through my journey with endometriosis, it's been such a roller coaster. Going from when I go back bunch of years before I was diagnosed through my surgery, um, I when I tell you I was in physical agony, like I have a very high pain tolerance. Um, I've played tennis with a broken wrist. I've played tennis with meniscus tears. Like I've put my body like to the ultimate physical test. I've dealt with rheumatoid arthritis as well. So I do have a very high pain tolerance, but when I tell you like I was in physical agony before I had my diagnosis, like I was really struggling. I remember back during COVID times, we were in Australia and I had a day when my period came and I was at the practice courts and I just like fell over on the court. Was having this stabbing pain in my stomach and I I mean, I have never, I mean, it is like one of the most painful like situations I had ever been in my entire life. I was like laying on the court. They had to get a doctor to come out and see me. And I didn't know what was wrong, right? Like that was before I was diagnosed. And when I had gotten home from my trip, I went to my doctor and I had um my annual exam, which is awful, where they go in with this like tube, and they open you up. And I almost kicked my gynecologist in the face, and I was screaming like all like I was saying like the worst things, and I was like, "We cannot, you cannot do my pelvic exam. I am in so much pain. Like I cannot do this." And she was like, "You know what?" She was like, "I want to go in surgically in 3 days because this is an emergency. You are in a lot of distress, and I think I know what's going on, but we need to kind of go in and be able to get a better look at what actually is going on." And I am so grateful that I took her advice. That was when they diagnosed me with endometriosis. That surgery was very extensive. My uterus had flipped backwards. I had multiple cysts. I had an incredible amount of endometrial tissue growing that was causing issues in my bladder, my bowel, and it was just wreaking havoc. And if I wouldn't have had that surgery, I I don't know what would have happened or how much longer it would have taken to finally figure out what was going on. But um, I am just so grateful I had that surgery because ever since I've had that surgery, and I mean, I know it's different for everyone that has endometriosis, but for me, after I had the surgery, like things really went up for me from that moment in time. Like I finally won my first WTA event that summer, like 4 months later. And then I backed it up with another tournament. The last couple of years has been really good, and without the help of my doctor, like I would have never been able to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve on the tennis court, because it was just it was so detrimental to my career. It was so detrimental to my headspace. Every period that I had because of the physical pain that I was in, I was so depressed. I was so sad. I was so um confused like why my body was like going through this awful thing, and then also being told by other doctors that painful periods are normal and take Advil and Tylenol and you should be able to get through it just fine. And I wasn't getting through it just fine, and a lot of those doctors didn't have um maybe they were trying their best to help me in a way that they felt was good, but we weren't really getting down to the bottom of the problem. And that's the thing that I find most concerning with people who are dealing with endometriosis is oftentimes it takes years to get a diagnosis on what's going on. And so if you don't have a friend who has dealt with it firsthand, and you haven't heard people talking about endometriosis, like aren't really going to have an idea of what exactly is going on. And so that's why it's been so important for me to like be open about my journey through all of this. I'm a very spiritual person. I feel like one of the ways that I can be a good person is by sharing my story and my experience through this and being a friend to those who are going through the same things and need that person to kind of listen to their story.
And that's what we need. We need people to share because it makes people feel less alone. And it can be also difficult to have those kind of conversations as well, where there are so many people who are dissecting everything you're saying as well. That's a very tricky thing to have to deal with, isn't it?
Yeah.
But have you found that sharing your story has really helped you, do you think?
It's been rewarding in the sense that I feel like I've been able to make really meaningful connections with people who have gone through similar struggles and given them like hope, or I've been able to interact with them and share my story and they've been able to get more clarity on what they're dealing with. So in that sense, I think it's been really good for me because like right, sense of community and not being alone, like that part of it has been good. But I do think anytime you open up about vulnerabilities, no matter what it is, if it's like mental health, other physical things somebody might be going through, it comes at a cost, right? And in my world, like everything that I do and say is dissected. And, I don't think a lot of people realize this, but every week that I play tennis, we have these media requirements, right? Where whenever a journalist or a media outlet wants to have a conversation with you, they have that right to have the conversation with you. And as a tennis player, you don't really have the ability to say, you know what, I don't want to do this. You're kind of forced to do this. You really are forced to do this and have these conversations and to, um, chat with the media, which is understandable, right? Because we need to promote our sport, we need to grow our sport, we need to talk about what's going on in the events. I've been open to talking about my endometriosis and fertility struggles, but there's something with, a lot of reporters, they always want more and more and more, and it comes at a cost for the person that's being vulnerable and sharing. And those conversations oftentimes too are not being treated with empathy. So I do advise people who have gone through health battles and difficult times, like I would say, protect your heart and do what's best for you. Because not everybody is going to be empathetic. Not everyone's going to treat you with respect.
Yeah, you definitely have to look after yourself. And I think, especially on the topic of fertility, it's one of those situations that I think every single person can resonate with what you said because there's so many people who think they have the right to know about what is going on in anyone's womb at any given time. Like the amount of times I've been sat at dinner parties, someone goes to me or even one of my girlfriends, like, oh, so you can have a baby. When do you want to have a baby? When do you want to do this? When do you want to do that? And it's like, I've always been like, guys, you have no right to someone's womb. You have no right to know what's going on with
Right.
someone
Yeah.
internally. Like, put that kind of conversation in the bin for the benefit of everyone.
Yeah, and I've experienced a lot of that, especially with coming back this year. I mean, I was very open about the reasons behind why I decided to keep playing, and that reason is quite painful. And it's been something, that I haven't really wanted to talk about with most people because I realize, like, most people aren't going to fully understand and get what I'm going through. I don't expect them to, but like I also am trying to have conversations with people who I feel like are there to support me like through these challenges, right? And so that's not conversation that's meant to be for everybody and for the world.
Mm.
Um, there was a reporter that I come off the court after my like second match of the year and just starts jumping in to all the fertility stuff. And I actually started crying like on TV. I think they cut the interview, but I actually started crying. And then she told me, she said, you should probably put up like a post or something on social media saying that, you don't want to talk about any more about your fertility stuff because I thought that you were open to having this conversation. It's like, so, I do think you have to be very direct because if you're not direct, people don't know, right? And I respect that, but I think, yeah, you have to also know that sometimes when you're a woman and you're direct, you're going to be called a, like now, like I take like when somebody says that, oh, like Danielle Collins is a, like I kind of just take it as a compliment because so many of the women that I love and respect have been labeled as a, and they're badass women. They're women that get shit done. They're women that go after their dreams. They're women that are assertive, powerful, like hardworking. Um, and they're people that I strive to be. So I feel like being can actually be kind of like a good thing, because it also means you're not afraid to back down when someone's being a jerk. It means that you're not afraid to be yourself and you're okay with not being liked, and you're going to be confident regardless of what other people think about you. And that's that.
Babe, you are 100% that, and I will roll with you any day.